He started with a truck, a toolbox, and a dream that everyone around him thought was impossible. Tommy Mello didn't just build a business, he built a blueprint. From being deep in debt to scaling a one garage door service into $1 billion powerhouse.
My mom was a realtor and she went door to door. I watched my mom knock on doors and hand out magnets. Her best year, she sold 53 houses, but she served tables and bartended to make ends meet. When I was 16, I was in my cousin's red Corvette and we sat down and the song was Don't Speak by No Doubt. I remember it vividly because that was the day everything changed for me. I knew I was going to be a millionaire.
Author, CEO, mentor, investor. He's obsessed with systems, leadership, and turning ordinary teams into unstoppable companies.
And there were a lot of hard times. I didn't know how I was going to make payroll.
So where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years now? You're in a different season. I talk a lot about seasons.
I don't want to slow down necessarily because I still want to be involved and have purpose. And I want my kids to see dad's still a hard worker. He's keeping his mind sharp. There's going to be a legacy there. But I definitely don't want to work 12 hours a day. I'd rather work 4 days a week, 6 hours, but super intentional. I don't think it's going to change much. It's like a speed bump for me.
This is Tommy Mello.
Tommy, thank you so much for coming to Miami. I got to do your podcast in Arizona, so it's nice and fitting that you got to come back here to Florida. The goal of my podcast is I always want to unpack, especially the beginning, right? So I've gotten to know you and you're a super successful entrepreneur. You partially exited your business and now you're investing in other businesses. And I want to really dive into some of that as I have strong opinions on which verticals might work, might not work, especially in a vibe coding world. But before we jump into any of that stuff, take us back to the beginning of, I don't think most of us in school said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. That was actually in a good way. Entrepreneurship has become cool. Like I think CEOs and entrepreneurs are almost looked at with the same regard as some celebrity athletes. So my kids think entrepreneurship is cool.
Yeah.
But you and I did not look up to any entrepreneurs growing up.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that because my mom was a realtor and she went door to door. I mean, she was a hustler. Every for sale by owner, we were stopping.
Well, I didn't know that, so that's super interesting to me.
Yeah, that's Leo. That's why it's right up your alley. But I watched my mom knock on doors and hand out magnets. And she figured it out. She was at Century 21, Jack Christensen. She was like hopping realtors. When she started out, she worked the front desk, anybody that would walk in, you know, the splits. But my mom and dad got a divorce fairly young in my life. And my mom, not only her best year, she sold 53 houses, but she served tables and bartended to make ends meet. She needed cash and she still needed a stable income to keep us in the schools that we were raised in. She's like, I'm keeping you in your schools and I'm not going for food stamps. My grandma went for food stamps because she had 5 kids. Grandpa took off on her. But mom worked her butt off. And I just remember her coming home in high heels with blisters on her feet. And I'd massage her feet and I just felt so bad because I knew she was doing it for us. And it kind of gets me emotional thinking about it because she loved us so much and she just cared so much. But my dad is a great man. He's going to be my best man at my wedding. I'm engaged. He just went through life and one thing they didn't teach in school that he didn't take the class is how to manage money. And when it was good, he would spend it. And when it was bad, we didn't have a whole lot going on. But they argued a lot about money. And that's when I decided when I was a kid, I'm going to figure out a way that my kids never have to see what I had to see. And look, my life was great compared to most people's. I'm not complaining about it. I wouldn't have changed it. My parents still love each other. They're not together. But everything happened for a reason, and I'm not a victim.
What's fascinating about what you said is not unique to entrepreneurship. Right?
No.
So, as you know, I run the largest real estate company in the world. And on the way here, I was just talking to my VP of success about teaching a course on money management.
Yeah.
From the P&L, like, you know, we see dollars. There's a difference between revenue and then gross revenue and a net revenue after cost of goods sold and what goes right into the tax account. But I don't know if you know this, Ariana and I, my wife, we have a family foundation. And actually one of the courses we designed with Miami-Dade College is a free financial literacy course. And we do it a couple times a year virtually with Miami. And it's available to anybody. and we wrote it ourselves. And it came from my last startup, where Ariana and I would teach a class to 25, 26-year-old software engineers who were making great money.
Yep.
Like, and I'm talking about 10 years ago, $180,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And we had brown bag lunches with the CEO. And we said, what do you want to learn? And the most requested course, they called it adulting.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that even mean? They're like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I get a credit card? Do I not? And a lot of them would get a $500 limit credit card because they didn't want to go into debt, but then couldn't build credit. Right?
Yeah.
So super, super basic stuff of like, what is a credit score? How do you increase it? What's good debt? What's bad debt? Like revolving versus fixed, like all kinds of tools that, again, in business become 10 times more necessary to learn.
Right.
But I think it even starts with just like, what's a budget?
You know, there's this book by Michael McKellar. It's called Profit First. And what it says is when I was 16, I was in my cousin's red Corvette, and we sat down, and the song was Don't Speak by No Doubt. I remember it vividly because that was the day everything changed for me. I knew I was going to be a millionaire because we went, and he goes, how much money do you put in your Roth IRA a month? I go, dude, I don't know what a Roth.
You were 17?
Yeah, 16. I'm like, dude, I'm a busboy. He goes, well, let's go get you an account set up. So we drove over. And
this was your cousin?
My cousin, Ryan. Yeah. He was just in town actually this week. So we sat down, and he goes, listen, how much can you afford to put in? And at the time, I think the limit was around $5,000 a year. And he goes, what can you put in? I go, about 100, maybe 125 a month. He goes, what would it take for you to put 300 in a month? I go, I'd have to get another job. He goes, where are you going to apply? And so I got a lifeguarding position. So I was busting tables and lifeguarding. And I started a small landscaping company at the time, but I got to 300. By the time I was 18, I was maxing it out. By the time I was 29, I couldn't put any money in because I was making it above the limit. Now in that account, there's $1 million. I'm 42. If you think about the compound interest, now that's tax-free because it's a Roth. So I'm a millionaire without any success from my entrepreneurship journey. And that's what I want. It's called Everyday Millionaires. And what I structured was it hit my bank account, automatically came out. And now it's self-directed, and it does really, really well. I shoot for high internal rates of return, safe ones, because I don't want to be too, I got to make sure I don't lose that money. So there's a strategy I've been working on that you'll enjoy because I work with a lot of house flippers. Actually, I used to sell leads. My website was called Highest Cash Offer. We generate 200 leads a day. And, you know, when you're buying a deal that you know you're going to make money, you're like, dude, we got this one for a smoking deal. Like they took our offer. Like so you do the inspection, doesn't need much. You're just going to lipstick it. And you know you're going to make like 40% net on it. Those are the ones I want to use my Roth money in the future on and say, listen, I'll use my other money to match up if we need to do 3 deals. Let my Roth always make the killer deals. And then I'll use this other money to make it right. And it can't be like, it can't be a family member, direct family member. And you know how all of that stuff works. But yeah, that money to me is a big deal because that's tax-free.
Yeah, that's completely tax-free. So, okay. So you were busting tables and lifeguarding.
Yeah, 16. So before that, I would mow lawns and shovel snow in Michigan. And then I started a landscaping company. You know, I was pre-dental. So I graduated when I was 17. I took a summer school. I needed government and economics. And I was able to graduate a year early because I moved from Michigan my last year. And I knew a few people, but I was like, look, I'm just going to get into college. So I took a lot of community college, organic chemistry, biochemistry, advanced calculus. And I started this landscape company while I'm busting tables, eventually bartending. I was buying and selling Bowflexes. And this is a cool story. One day I'm watching TV. It's late at night. I don't know if I got done bartending or what. And I'm like, man, that Bowflex looks awesome. But I'm not paying $2,400. Like they disguise it as a $129 payment for like, 3 years. And so I went on Arizona Republic that Sunday, the newspaper in Phoenix, and I found one. And this was Sunday, and the news came out. That paper came out Sunday. And what was interesting to me is I called the guy up and I think he wanted $1,200. And he said, dude, you're the 20th person that called me. He goes, that thing sold the minute the newspaper hit. And so I'm talking to this guy and my roommate comes out and goes, have you ever heard of Craigslist? And I'm like, Craigslist? Is that like a www.com thing? And it was early internet times. And so I went to Craigslist and I found 10 Bowflexes. I went and bought all of them. They were $400 to $600. I bought all of them. I called Arizona Republic and said, I want to put a 2-year ad in and they said, well, what happens when it sells? I'm like, don't worry about it. What can you do for 2 years? And I bought and sold hundreds and hundreds. I'd buy them for $400 to $600, sell them for anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500. And I mean, there were days where I sell 4. They were all in my backyard. I'd set them up in the front yard. And I mean, it was crazy. And then one day, a couple of years in, I'm watching TV again and I'm like, Total Gym, Chuck Norris. Huh. So I started doing Total Gyms and I was buying and selling cars. I would say I was hustling. My dad and I would buy cars. So I'd buy G20 Infinities, Honda Civics, Honda Accords. Those were the 3 cars I'd buy. They were the best sellers. They were great on gas. And that was a really good deal because I'd buy things with problems. But I'd buy these cars. And the crazy thing to me, and you could relate to this, is these cars were falling apart. The tires were bad. The oil hadn't been changed. They were disgusting on the interior. So I worked out a deal in the beginning. I did it, but I detailed the hell out of them, changed the oil, put new tires on them. Sometimes there was some things that needed CV joints and small things. But I mean, I was making a few grand a pop and I could buy 3 cars a week.
I flipped my first car when I was 16 years old.
Yes, me and you have a lot in common.
Honda Prelude. I bought it for $1,200. I cleaned it up and we had to move because my dad got an assignment to go to Panama to help transfer the canal and sold it for $1,600 in 3 months.
So that's the ticket. One day, what happened is all my friends would call me. They're like, dude, a lot of people don't want to deal with a sale. They don't want people. They don't like the negotiation. They don't want, it's very, very, it's almost like public speaking. It's not quite as hard, but you're like people, then you got to show it. And then they're going to ask a bunch of questions. You got to have the title and you got to have proof of purchase, all these things. So one day my roommate, he wasn't my roommate at the time. He goes, dude, I got this Honda Civic. He goes, give me $1,000 for it. I was like, I'll give you 15. He dropped it off. The guy picked it up for 3,500 within an hour. And he goes, what just happened? And I'm like, you made an extra $500. He couldn't believe it. He's like, I'm fine with it, dude. So that was that. Then the landscaping company, which quite frankly, I knew how to mow lawns. I knew how to do sprinkler systems. I knew how to do drip systems. So I was able to make a decent amount of money doing that. Plus bartending. I mean, I was making $400 or $500 a night. I was selling stuff, but I was hustling, man. And plus, I got a business degree, and I went and interned with a dentist. And he's like, Tommy, he's like, I'm 47 years old. I got $300,000 of debt. I didn't specialize. And I don't even own this business. He goes, don't take this the wrong way, but I can't see you being a dentist. And at this time, I just had started the garage door company and things started going really well. And so I ended up taking the GMAT instead of the DAT and got a master's in business. In 2012, I got that. I finished that. But man, it was a struggle. The first 3 years, 2007 to 2010, I had a partner, and what could go wrong, Murphy's Law went wrong.
How did you pick that industry?
My roommate at the time said, do you know how to paint garage doors? He was managing a garage door company. And I said, how much does it pay? And he goes, I can get you $100 a door. You got to cover the paint. So I did my research. I went to Home Depot. I went to Lowe's. I went to a couple other places, Don Edwards. And I found this Glidden product called Speed Coat. And it was $12 a gallon. And the tape and everything, I was about $18 in. I had a G20 Infinity. That's what I was driving at the time. And so I hired this old man to teach me how to paint. I paid him $200 a door. So I paid him double what I was making. He taught me how to feather it on, and we sprayed it. And I went down the yellow book and called every garage door company I could find. And I became the primary painter for every company in the yellow book. They couldn't find anybody reliable. Like painting's known for like drug addicts and just people that don't show up. So I was reliable. I'd go on the weekends. I could paint 10 doors a day. And this is 2005. So if I'm bringing in about $80, 10 a day, that's $800. I got very, very good about a Magnum 5 from Home Depot. And I bring it back every 3 months. They let me, I had to get a new one. And then I meet up with these guys. They'd literally cut out sections of the garage door for me to match. So I met up with technicians from all these companies, and everybody's killing it. I mean, this is the boom, 2006. This is real estate in Phoenix was on fire, and in Vegas. And so my other roommate's like, we should start a garage door company. He started working at the company as a technician. And he goes, I know everything now. I know the skills, and you know a little bit about business. I could do an LLC and an EIN number. I understood the taxes. I understand a bit about marketing, but I didn't know a ton about business. I just went to business school. And so we started up, and what I realized is he worked about a third as hard as I did. And it really bothered me every day. Every time he went out of town, we'd make more money. Every time I got on the phones, I'd book every phone call. We'd go out to lunch, Leo. And I remember this vividly. He'd answer the phone, A1 garage door specialist at the time instead of service. And he'd go, can I call you back? We're just finishing lunch. And I go, what? This is how? So 2010, I gave him an ultimatum. I said, you take on the debt or I'll take on the debt. You could have the business or I'll take the business. Either way, I'm going to start my own thing. It was the hardest conversation. It was harder than a divorce because he was my best friend. We lived together and a business partner, and I care about him. But he said, you take the business, take the debt. And what do you do when you have nobody you can trust? You call mom. So I called my mom and I said, I need some help. At this point, probably bringing in a little over $1 million a year at about 5 employees. I just needed somebody that I could trust that was reliable. So my mom and stepdad moved to Phoenix. That's when I started my master's degree. 4 years, got to 6.5 million. And then I found an integrator. And then 3 years later, started a podcast, got a really good consultant and got on the right CRM. And then every year we were 17.5 million. And then 2020, I found a couple really, really great guys. And these guys helped me get to, they taught me about arbitrage. They taught me about multiples. They taught me about equity incentive programs. So I got this whole team, and then I got the right CFO, and all of a sudden we got to, we went from 12 million of EBITDA to 27.5 million, partially exited half the company in 2022 at the end. And this year will be over 80 million of EBITDA. And it sounds good, but the icing on the cake is the multiples are in the high teens, low 20s. Because we're a high demand industry. We can make it through COVID. We can make it through a recession. When your pipe breaks, when your garage door and you're stuck and you can't get out for work, you're going to call somebody. It's not like something where you're like, yeah, I need a new floor. I'm thinking about, like, we're high demand. We got to get it fixed the same day. And that's what we were able to prove. And so it's a great industry. It's just not a big average ticket. So we got to run 25,000 jobs a month. And that's a blessing and a curse.
Well, it's a barrier of entry.
Yeah.
Because doing that kind of, and it's similar to what we do. We sell 45,000 homes a month, and we make a small piece as we support agents in the field, right? So it's in a way very similar businesses in what comes with it. Now you've moved into becoming an investor.
Yeah.
Tell me the good and bad, and kind of the new thesis, what's worked, what hasn't worked. What do you look for?
Yeah. So number one, I have a really, really top of the line tax advisor. When you make a certain amount of money, taxes, it's tax avoidance. You're going to pay one way or another. The question is, can you spread it out to where you die? And that's a trust. There's charitable contributions. There's a lot of different things there's a lot of strategy that goes behind tax strategy. And then the next thing is, like, having an FP&A team and knowing exactly where your numbers are. So I started a family office, a lot of executives, a really, really strong team to take apart financials and due diligence and go through. And what I figured out really early is the sexy things are the worst things. Restaurants, bars, golf courses. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I didn't do golf courses. But it's very rare where a restaurant, it seems sexy, like you got your own restaurant, you got your own bar. But you're really investing in the leadership team. And really what I would say is mostly the founder. Real estate's a really, really good place to invest if you understand it. It's a long play, and don't expect to get crazy internal rate of returns. But very rarely does real estate go down. It's just, it depends if you want to go commercial, residential, start a REIT. It's something where I haven't dove in a lot into right now. I mean, I own all my buildings in Arizona. I own several houses. in an apartment complex, but nothing crazy. It's only 20 units. Something where we're going to diversify into. But I tend to stick to my core, which is home service. I understand that really well. And the crazy thing about home service, you go buy in at 6X and triple it and sell it for 14X if it's put together correctly. So that's what arbitrage means. The multiples based on profit or EBITDA. So you buy in at 6X, you put the foundation, the elements, the right CFO, the right reporting, get it on accrual, get the tenure up of the people there, get the right operating systems, understand the key performance indicators, fix the marketing. And really what you got to do is identify in the org chart where the weaknesses are. You build that up. And this is the craziest thing when I said, wait a minute, if drug dealers knew about arbitrage, they wouldn't sell drugs, but basically that's what they do. They buy it for $1 and sell it for 10. And that's what arbitrage is, when you could buy something. It started, the way that I talk about it is the 1860s, the gold rush of San Francisco. These clipper ships could get from New York to San Francisco in about 2 days. And they'd buy, call it an axe for 10 cents and sell it for $1. And so that's what the business I'm in is making businesses great. And everything I do is built to sell. I'm a little bit different than Warren Buffett and a lot of strategies like invest forever. I like 5 years or less, preferably 3.
And when did you come up with that? Because when you bought out your roommate,
yeah,
you did not make the decision I'm going to sell this in 3 to 5 years, or did you?
No. I didn't know. I mean, I was on an uncharted territory. I did not know what anything was. I mean, literally, when I was in 2017, when I got on ServiceTitan, which is the CRM, which is a customer relation management system for those out there that don't know what that is. It's basically the software that runs the business, that and Intact, the financial side of it. But I got introduced to all these $100 million HVAC guys. And I just pleaded with them. I'm like, please, I'm just a garage door kid. Can I come out and learn from you? And I was super humble. I swallowed my pride. I wouldn't tell them what my goals were. I just buy them lunch, read their book, tell them I'm an integrator. I'll implement everything they say. I'll leave them a legacy. I'll always give them credit on any stage I get on. And I've kept my promises. And every $100 million shop in the United States I've been to at the time. Now there's a lot more. I mean, I was flying at least 2 weekends out of a month. And then I would spend Monday, Tuesday there. And I learned the way they trained, the way they recruited, the way they'd sell tune-ups, the way they'd use financing, the way they kept track of their books. I learned every detail, and I was just a doer. But man, it's come a lot easier because now we're a systems-based company. I mean, I don't need to be there. I'm obviously here. It's Wednesday. I'm more of the curious guy trying to find new things. I'm trying to find new strategies, new marketing, new recruiting strategies, making sure I'm filling in the voids. And I'm the gas pedal, but I try to stay out of the way because usually the entrepreneur is the bottleneck.
When you say home services, have you gone into HVAC? Have you gone into the adjacent ones?
We're in HVAC, plumbing, electrical. We're in, one of the companies is going to sell in January. That's a restoration company. That one will be a 4.5x return in 3 years. And I put $6 million in. So that's a good ROI. But now what I've learned, Leo, is I don't want to mess with $1 million EBITDA companies. Now you're going to pay a lot more to get in, but you're going to go, it's just as hard to do a $1 million EBITDA company as it is a $10 million EBITDA company. But you get a much better foundation, better operator, better systems. So a lot of people don't have the money to buy into a $10 million EBITDA company. But if you could buy a $10 million EBITDA company, get it to 30, you might buy in it, call it 8X. So it's 80 million. So to buy half of it's 40 million. But it gets to 30, you get it 18X. So you're at 540 million and you buy them for 40 and you own half of it. So the return on that is, it's a couple $100 million. And I'm not saying that's easy, but once you've done it, and as you know, a lot of people go bankrupt, they go right back to normal. Like they know how to do it. They understand. They take a lot of risk. But once you've done it, it's a lot easier. Like, yeah, we've dealt with that. I know exactly what happens when we do that.
I saw a post yesterday, actually, that said one of the biggest mistakes you make in a small business is hire a bunch of like VPs from like a Fortune 500 company.
Oh, yeah.
And it actually said one of the best hires is a founder who got to $2 million and went bankrupt because they know what not to do. and they have something to prove.
Yeah. You need to have a chip on your shoulder for sure. And you need to be obsessed. And you need to enjoy what you're doing. And I've kind of put a void in my brain about all the hard times. But there were days, and I've really tried to put myself there because it's one of the biggest questions I get. And there were a lot of hard times. The hardest days were when I didn't know how I was going to make payroll. And I had to get resourceful, go run jobs, sell something, take an equity line against my house. I mean, there were times where I put it all back in. I mean, probably a dozen times where I'm like, I'm just going to bet everything I own and make this work. And it's not for the faint at heart. A lot of people are like, man, I want what you have. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't want what everyone wants the views. No one wants to take the hike.
And so where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years now? You're in a different season. I talk a lot about seasons, and I think I talked about that in your podcast. Like you're now engaged. Yeah. Do you want to be going as hard as you did for the last 20 years?
Well, it's gotten a lot easier the last couple of years. I think I'm going to be a little bit more deliberate with my time. I don't want to slow down necessarily because I still want to be involved and have purpose. And I want my kids. So I'm engaged January 1st to 2027. And I want my kids to see dad's still a hard worker. He's keeping his mind sharp. There's going to be a legacy there. But I definitely don't want to work 12 hours a day. I'd rather work 4 days a week, 6 hours, but super intentional. But as you know, I'm still going to take phone calls and handle certain situations and talk to my amazing coworkers. And, you know, no matter what, even on this next deal, which will probably happen sometime next year, that's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions more. And then I roll a lot into the next deal. I don't think it's going to change much. It's like a speed bump for me. But the difference is I could invest in a lot more things. So I'll have safe money. I'll have other investments, whether that be real estate, REITs, and all kinds of other things. And then I'll have the home service fund. And then I'm trying to do things like what I've sat down and designed my life for 45. Like, what does that look like? And there's a lot of exercise in there. There's a lot of getting involved with the community and church. There's a lot of philanthropy in there. There's a lot of fun. So you got to really go back to when you're a kid and say, what do I absolutely love? I love to golf. I love to fish. I love to go bowling. I love spending time with my cousins and family. So my definition of fun is when my stomach hurts because I laugh so much. I love shooting pool. I love going hunting. So that's what I'm trying to design for myself is how could I do that all the time? And that's really what I'm setting up right now is I can't do it right away because I'm involved with private equity. I made a deal with these guys and I got to continue to perform as the CEO and I'm not ready to step down, but this is the last CEO position I'll ever take. I say that.
Yeah, I said that once too.
Yeah.
Well, Tommy, it was awesome having you here. It'll be awesome to see the next chapter of your journey. And I'm excited to continue to stay in touch with you.
Leo, that's always a pleasure. Thank you very much, man. I want to get to know you a lot more. I love what you're doing.
Awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.